What if you could build a wealth advisory business that feels both cutting edge and deeply relational? Timothy L. Smith is one of those rare financial leaders who hasn't just ridden the wave of change in finance, he's helped shape them. Starting in the 1980s as a registered representative, he moved early into the fee-based advisor model and then founded his own advisory firm and broker-dealer. He's now the founder and CEO of Aurora Private Wealth, a firm built to give clients modern tools, transparent processes, and financial plans that actually honor their life goals, not just their investments. His journey is punctuated by entrepreneurial leaps, creating organizations that support hundreds of advisors nationwide, building platforms, steering regulatory committees, and always keeping his values in the driver's seat. Beneath all the growth and prestige, there's a commitment to doing finance differently, with integrity, clarity, and a human touch. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by financial advice or wondered how someone builds a company that serves both wealth and well-being, Tim's story will shift how you see what success in finance can look like. And before we start this episode, a quick word from our sponsor, Deep Wealth, and the 90-day Deep Wealth Mastery Program. Here's Jane, a graduate who says, and I quote, "The Deep Wealth Mastery Program prevented me from making what would have been one of the biggest mistakes of my career. I almost signed on the dotted line with an unsolicited offer that I now realize would have shortchanged my hard work and my future had I accepted that offer. Deep Wealth Mastery has tilted the playing field to my advantage." Or how about Lynn? Wow, he gets right to the point, and I quote, "Deep Wealth Mastery is one of the best investments ever made because you'll get an ROI of 100 times that. Anyone who doesn't go through this will lose millions." And as you're listening to these testimonials, are you wondering if you have the time? Are you even thinking that you've got this covered? You have the advisors or people in your network? Well, I got to tell you, these myths, they're often behind the 90% failure rate for liquidity events. Think about it. You have one chance to get it right for your financial freedom. You really want to make it count. And when it comes to time, let's hear what William has to say. We just got in this testimonial. William says, and I quote, "I didn't have the time for Deep Wealth Mastery, but I made the time and I'm glad I did. What I learned goes far beyond any other executive program or coach I've experienced." So what do you think? As I hear that, that's exactly what gets me out of bed every day. That's my mission. That's the team's mission here at Deep Wealth, to literally change the social fabric of society, one business owner at a time, one liquidity event at a time. And my Deep Wealth Nation, what I want you to know, the Deep Wealth Mastery Program, it isn't theory. It's from the trenches. It's the only one based on a 9-figure deal. And that deal, that was my deal. You know my story. I said no to a 7-figure offer. I created a system that later on, myself and my business partners, we said yes to a different buyer, a different offer, a 9-figure deal. That's what we now call the Deep Wealth Mastery Program, or the Scale for Ultimate Sales system. It's built by business owners for business owners. So if you're interested in growing your profits, for preparing for a future liquidity event, and that may be 2 years away, it could be 22 years away, whatever the time may be, you want to do this now, and you want to optimize your post-exit life. Deep Wealth Mastery is for you. To get started, email success@deepwealth.com. Again, that's success, SUCCESS, at deepwealth.com. You'll receive all the information about the Deep Wealth Mastery Program, or better yet, why not hop on a complimentary strategy call? We'll go through exactly where your business is today and what's standing between you and your financial independence and your dreams. So that's where you want to be. You want to be with other successful business owners, entrepreneurs, and founders just like you. They're looking to grow their businesses, create market disruptions, and unlock their financial freedom to get what they deserve. And whether you've been in business for 3 years, 40 years, you're a startup, you're in manufacturing, you're in high tech, low tech, whatever the case may be, come on in and network with other business owners. It's a safe space. It's a confidential space with business owners, with businesses just like you, because they all want to lock in their financial freedom and enjoy both success and fulfillment. So again, the 90-day Deep Wealth Mastery Program, it has your name on it. All you need to do is take the next step. Please send an email to success@deepwealth.com. Deep Wealth Nation, welcome to another episode of the Deep Wealth Podcast. So I have a question for you, Deep Wealth Nation. I have a rhetorical question for you. When it comes to your finances, your business finances, your personal finance, how are you doing with that? And I've got a little insight for you. You are richer than you think. I wish I made that up. Another bank made it up, but it's a great tagline and it's perfect for the very special guest that we have in the House of Deep Wealth. We have a fellow entrepreneur, a thought leader, someone who is a whiz in the world of finance and wealth management. But I'm going to put a plug in it right there. Tim, welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. There's always a story behind the story. So, Tim, what's your story? What got you from where you were to where you are today?
Well, first, thank you for having me, Jeffrey. It's really a pleasure to be here. My route is kind of circuitous. I was a child actor singer and used to work in New York City making TV commercials and all that kind of thing. And I studied opera singing and musical theater singing. And I've continued to sing and perform throughout my life. But I made money from doing the acting work. Believe it or not, commercials did pay pretty well a long time ago. And I was investing it, and I found investing the money to be more fascinating than the acting work. And so I ultimately decided when I finished college that I wanted to go into the investment world. And some friends of mine were working at a small financial planning firm in my area. And I got a position there, and I spent 10 years at that firm and worked my way up in various roles and became a shareholder in the organization. And when I was 32, I announced I was leaving. And I just started what's called an RIA firm, an investment advisory firm. And I thought I would just manage money and go play golf. And that was what I thought was going to happen. That did not happen. I was invited by some former colleagues of mine who also left to build a platform that would basically allow other financial advisors to join us and team up, in essence. And I did so. And that platform today has, golly, 60 offices in 35 states and something like $14 billion of total assets being managed by all these guys around the country. So I just essentially became an entrepreneur in the financial advisor space, helping other financial advisors grow and build their businesses and building my own, and working with closely a terrific entrepreneur out of Orlando, Florida, who was a family member and became a shareholder in the organization with me. And we just grew it very rapidly. We had our ups and downs along the way. We've been through 40 to 50% growth years, and we've been through a $16 million theft by one of our advisors that threw us back quite a ways at one point, and a variety of ups and downs with markets and regulatory changes and everything else that is normal to go through as an entrepreneur with the environment around you moving very quickly. And today I'm 62 and have a nice boutique financial services firm. I still manage money for clients, and I work with my kids on some financial literacy efforts for young people. I've just published a book on risk management and investing that's a hot seller on Amazon, and I'm having the time of my life, Jeffrey.
My goodness, what story. Yeah, I love that. What a story. There's so much there to unpack. The human condition never ceases to amaze me because, Tim, how many people would love to leave the world of business and go into the world of show business? And it was the opposite for you. You were in show business and you found the world of business, in your case, investing, to be far more interesting. Let me ask you this before we move forward with a few of the other questions. Looking back, and I know you're young, you're a child actor, and congratulations with that. The lessons learned, were there lessons learned from show business that you brought into business that made a difference for you?
Well, there were several. The first was persistence pays. Acting is a lot like financial services or any sales role, I will say, in that you have to be able to handle a lot of rejection and
Mhm.
you have to be able to still maintain your confidence and your belief in yourself despite that rejection. I learned very early in my life how to treat adults like anybody else, that they were not something, I don't know, you always called everybody Mr. and Mrs. growing up.
Mhm.
But in the acting world, you called everybody by their first names, the same as you called anybody by their first names, except for the highest level people in the industry. I learned at a young age how to interface with adults in pressure filled situations and that perseverance can pay off. And all of those things really suited me well when I was 22 and started asking 55 and 60-year-olds to give me all the money they had in the world. It really set me up very well for this business in a very strange way that I would not have expected.
It's interesting, and that persistence, and I suppose getting used to that rejection and having the faith and confidence in yourself to keep on going on. There's a terrific insight, lots of insights there, Deep Nation. Hope you're picking up on that. And you also mentioned that sadly, you had a run in where there was some activity off to the side that could have almost put you out of business. And I would love to say that you were one of the few. Unfortunately, you're not. And so as you look at that, any insights, lessons learned that you can share with Deep Wealth Nation of what either to do or not to do?
Yeah, well, risk management really does matter, first of all. And I have a friend who had a problem in his business with a risk management issue that very nearly put him out of business. And he had to learn the same lesson, unfortunately. It's a totally different business. So I learned a lot about risk management and that I was very focused on growth and not so focused on how we manage the risks that growth created and compliance and everything that went along with it. So I certainly learned that. I learned that not everybody is trustworthy, which was unfortunately a big thing for me to learn. I'm a very trusting person by nature, and probably one of the reasons that some things went wrong, but that trust but verify is really critical. As I started to tell advisors who would say, well, listen, just trust me on this, I would say to them, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to. I'm
Hmm.
not in a position to just simply trust people. It's the nature of my job that I can't just simply trust people and let them do what they want to do, whatever. So becoming less trusting was a painful thing for me as an entrepreneur, to be more mindful of the possibility that anybody could turn out to be a con man when you're dealing with a couple of hundred salespeople. Also, your reputation is everything.
Hmm.
When your reputation is damaged, it's really hard to come back from that. And it took a long time. It took 5 or 10 years to surpass where we had been in the business after that, between the legal costs and losing some relationships, because it was a very public thing that this had happened within our industry. There was the possibility in some people's minds that I might have had something to do with it, which
Sure.
I'm literally the guy who called the police. Preserving your reputation is really important. And it was a very embarrassing, humiliating experience. Again, mental resiliency is the only reason I'm still standing today. I think every entrepreneur has to simply have something a little extra in their brain that says, I know I can get through this. I know I can get through this. I know I can get through this. And again, the only reason I'm still here, still doing it today, is that I just simply believed in my own trustworthiness that I was not the person at issue and that I could move forward from it. So, a lot of lessons, very painful.
Many lessons learned, and thank you for being so open, so vulnerable, and sharing that with us. And you're right, Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. On paper, it sounds so simple to do. In reality, it's a completely different story. And you're not the only one. I've been there. Countless entrepreneurs have been there. It's a hard lesson to learn, but many insights. And thank you for sharing that. So, Tim, let me ask you this, because when it comes to wealth, few talk about purpose. How are you guiding people towards aligning their values when it comes to money to legacy, meaning, and purpose? What's going on with that?
Well, I think what you have to do as a financial advisor is really get to know the people you're talking to and understand their values system. And by that, I don't necessarily mean their political system. It's a good idea to stay away from that, I think, in general, or learn their political system, but don't engage. But their values system, what matters to them, how they feel about money. I had a client who once jokingly said to me, Tim, if there's any money left over in my accounts when I die, consider that to be an accounting error. And by that, he meant he wanted his children to stand on their own. He didn't want them to inherit millions of dollars. That was his value system. He didn't want them to be lazy. because they were going to come into some money one day. And so you have to work with them where they come from. Some people are conscious investors, impact investors. They're involved in things like the climate change initiatives and ESG initiatives and the like. And so it's not my role to tell them whether I agree or disagree with any such issues. It's my role to help them get where they can, the best they can, within the limitations of what they're willing to put money into or what they want their money used for. So I think it's just a matter of getting to know that person. And financial planning as a discipline is really, it's a process that creates that level of engagement. When I started in the business, there was still a lot of stockbrokers, and a stockbroker is sort of the modern day equivalent would be an annuity salesman who does nothing but pitch annuities all day long. And a stockbroker is somebody who has the stock and looks for someone to buy it. And a financial planner is someone who has a client who has needs and looks for something to fill the needs. It's the opposite relationship. I'm working on behalf of the client to find what they need, as opposed to having something in my back pocket that I need to unload. So the process helps you get to know them by its nature and without judgment. Your job is simply to help them get where they're trying to go in the most effective manner possible that is consistent with those values. I find it easy because I really believe in people and, well, A, that they have a right to their values. It's their money. So it's not for me to tell them what their values should or should not be, what they should or should not put money in. My non-judgment helps them to feel comfortable that this is somebody who is really working on my behalf, irrespective of his own belief system, which sometimes I do end up over the years getting into conversations with people about. Fortunately, I'm a very middle of the road person on average politically, so I don't I don't have great challenges in getting along with people politically. I mean, it's the nature of the process that the person's interests unfold by virtue of the conversations you have, by listening. You have to be a very good listener, I think, and just looking for solutions that are going to fit them and make them happy. A happy client is a good client. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, Tim, as you're talking about that, I'm curious, when it comes to financial peace of mind, you don't hear a lot about that. So, for you personally, what does that mean? How would you define financial peace of mind? And then the follow up to that is going to be every person's going to be different. What I view as financial peace of mind will be different than what you view it as. How do you help others find their own financial peace of mind? So why don't we start with what does that mean for you? Why don't you set the stage of financial peace of mind and how you would define that, what that means for you personally?
Financial peace of mind. Well, a little story. Growing up, my father was a teacher, and there were five kids, five mouths to feed in addition to the two parents.
Hmm.
And as my father used to joke, there's too much month at the end of the money. So there were pretty constant tensions about not having enough money and not being able to do certain things because there wasn't enough money. And the kinds of arguments I remember my parents having when I was a child. And my parents were ultimately married 63 years before my father passed away. So they did okay, all things considered. But most of the arguments I recall growing up were about money and there not being enough of it, just essentially. My father was a Depression child who grew up with nothing. My mother grew up very middle class to upper middle class at times. And I think that the lifestyle my father could provide was not what she had been accustomed to. And maybe she wasn't quite expecting that when they got married. So there was tension over that. So I grew up with anxiety about the bills being paid, there being enough money, there being enough money to get kids to the colleges that are best for them as opposed to what was affordable. And so for me, financial peace of mind has meant knowing that there's enough money coming in to pay the bills, to stay out of significant debt. And I have debt, but it's debt that's wisely used, I'll just say. and being able to send my children to the colleges they wanted to go to, that they were best suited to, rather than them going somewhere because that's what we could afford. So for me, I honestly have a lot of anxiety over money given my upbringing. I think it's part of the reason I went into this industry also was being able to alleviate other people's money worries by my own knowledge and skills has been a lifelong joy for me. And maybe I'm getting to the answer of your second part of your question, but I have translated that in my life to several basic things in my career. I believe that helping people plan their finances gives them a sense of control over those finances. And for most people, I may be a control freak, I don't know, but having a sense of control, understanding where you are, having a series of actionable steps that you
Mhm.
can take that will help you achieve your goals in life financially and someone to guide you along that path, I think are things that reduce people's stress about money. So I feel like my career has been spent helping other people avoid some of those same kinds of anxieties that I suffered as a child growing up and that my parents suffered because they had no financial guidance. And my father was a philosophy professor, no financial background whatsoever. It's a great irony that I went into this field because my parents, they had no knowledge or ability with finance at all. So in terms of the professional aspect of it, again, I feel like when people have a sense for what they should be doing about preparing for kids' college, how their budget looks, how their retirement is going, their preparations for their own retirement, or their ability to buy a beach house that they've been dreaming about, knowing that they have insurances in place and wills and trusts in place. God forbid the worst happens. That's what gives them peace of mind that they've done all that they can within their means to plan and to prepare and invest wisely, invest reasonably, not overly aggressively or not taking ridiculous risks because they don't understand how to invest. That's part of the beauty of this career is you're able to help people feel that. It's not just about investing their money, it's about helping people feel like they've got it.
And Tim, as you're talking about that, of the thought process, the questions that we should be asking for ourselves in terms of, okay, going to bed at night, what's going to give me some financial peace of mind? So, from the client side, you also made a shift yourself in terms of an advisory firm, not just for clients now, but also you're supporting other advisors. You become a platform. So, what's going on with that? Walk us through how you got there and how you're making a difference with that.
Well, I have to try to describe the platform that I came from first. It was a platform that while we talked a lot about investing, primarily talked about investing, the rent was literally paid by an insurance company. And when I was too young and inexperienced, naive to sort of understand how the business works, technically I was a statutory employee of that insurance company while I thought I was an independent financial advisor. And then that company created products that we marketed, some of which went south pretty badly. It created some investment services that we marketed in the fee based investment advisory space. And those were okay sometimes and pretty good some other times. But the point was that I left in part because I didn't feel I was independent the way I had been sort of pitched, when I went into the industry. Independent meaning not having to sell something in particular because the company markets it or creates it or is backed by it somehow. It's just as an example, Merrill Lynch creates products. So their sales force market those products. It's a big part of what the sales force does at Merrill Lynch. So we who don't work for product creating companies view ourselves as fully independent, while we would view someone from Merrill Lynch as not being fully independent. So I wanted when I left to be independent, to truly be independent. And the folks who left with me, or not with me, who left shortly after I did, wanted the same. They wanted not to have sort of very heavy-handed Wall Street cultural approaches to sales, which that organization also had. So some cultural aspects of the organization were problematic as well. So I created a platform that was product agnostic, service agnostic, where you would create your own culture for your own organization. So there'd be the Jeffrey Feldberg organization that I was in the background supporting, but you marketed under your own name. I didn't have really much to do with your marketing or branding. And you were able to do investment advisory business as you chose, or broker dealer business as you chose.
Hmm.
No quotas, no requirements to do any particular product. I never pushed particular product at the reps because I could make more money at it or anything like that. So, back in the mid 1990s and early 2000s, there was the beginning of a large exodus of people leaving the wirehouse firms in the United States, people meaning financial advisors, who wanted to be quote unquote independent. And I just happened to be at the beginning of that rush. And a lot of people joined my organization because it was everything where they were, had a lot of things, and I didn't have any of those things that they didn't want.
Hmm.
So it was a very successful formula and worked very well to help them. And we provided a variety of services. Part of what I did, because I had been a sales manager and a mentor in my prior firm, any younger financial advisors who wanted a mentor or who wanted strategic planning help for their careers, especially now going independent and not having the big company behind them anymore. So that was a part of what I did as a platform thing because I love strategic planning as a process. I don't know why, just really like it. And just worked very hard to provide excellent service, excellent compliance, but let them be what they wanted to be, their vision of their financial advisor practice. That was what I really worked hard to do. And it's been and continues to be a successful formula as the financial services business in the United States has evolved for the last 30, 40 years.
And so it's interesting because what you're talking about, as you're walking us through that, you're really unshackling various wealth advisors. They can now have their own platform behind the scenes. You're doing what you're doing best. They're doing what they're doing best, but you're creating a win for you, for your company, for the wealth advisors, but also for their clients. That it sounds like there's more transparency, there's more choice. It's not being steered in one direction. It's actually, okay, what's best for Jeffrey? Because what's best for Jeffrey is going to be very different than what's best for Emma or Mary or Victoria, or whatever the case may be, that we can now pick and choose because we have a strong platform behind us. How am I doing with that?
Very accurate. And I'll just add what's best for Jeffrey is best for the firm and for the advisor. That's our job, is to find what's best for you. And when we compromise that, or if we compromise that in any way, because we have limitations on what we can do, we have product limitations because they have the wrong name on them, the wrong company name on them, or something like
Sure.
that.
Yep.
It's not in the best interest of the customer. And the concept of a fiduciary and serving the client in a fiduciary capacity is what I have been espousing for 30 plus years at this point, whereas the market has only moved to it very recently, and the regulatory environment has finally caught up to it in the last 5, 7 years. It's been a very good formula. And you know what, Jeffrey? It goes back to the simple thing, the simple saying, do the right thing. Just it's the karma. Do the right thing and it will work out. You may not make as much money on this situation that you're working on as you might have with some other higher commission product. You do the right thing here. The client is happy. The client refers you to someone else, and that someone else refers you to the biggest client you've ever had. You have to believe in that karma. That kind of thing unfolds when you do the right thing. The kinds of people that I work best with are people who just share that philosophy.
And so, Tim, as you're talking about this, for someone who may not be familiar with all the terms in the industry, you're talking about a fiduciary. Sounds like a big fancy word. What would that mean in some simple words, easy to understand? If I hear the word fiduciary, what does that mean for me and why do I care?
A fiduciary is someone who has a legal obligation to do what is in the best interest of someone else, whoever is the trustee of such a trust. Legally, they have to act in the best interests of the beneficiary, the child, not in their own interest in doing whatever they're going to do with that trust and its assets and payouts to the child and things like that. So it's hard to imagine this probably for many people. But the standard for people working in a broker dealer environment in the United States up until about 6 or 7 years ago, the standard was you have to do something that is suitable for them, that fits, but it doesn't have to be in their best interest. And there's a pretty big gulf between those two things. And by the way, doing something that's in the client's best interest doesn't mean that you don't make money on it or that you have to forego compensation or something along those lines. That's a conflict of interest, but that can be mitigated by you having done your due diligence on investment vehicles available to meet the needs of the client and finding what you feel is best and why it's best and documenting that. But so a fiduciary has to do what's best for the client. And now even people in the broker dealer context have to do what's best for the client as opposed to just doing what is suitable, even if it's not the best thing that you can do for the client. It's a big tectonic sea shift in the industry. And it literally resulted in some companies breaking up and breaking themselves apart. What used to be MetLife, for example, became Bright House, and they got rid of their sales force because their sales force primarily sold MetLife products. And there was an argument that you cannot be a captive person selling just your own company products. So, in a sense, it broke up manufacturing and distribution, if you think of it that way.
As we're talking about this, as Tim is sharing this with us, I want you to imagine for just a moment, if you don't know what you're doing, if you're just going with the flow, as they say, and oh, yeah, anyone can help me here. The difference between what you're sharing here, Tim, between a fiduciary and someone who isn't, it's night and day. Because, Tim, as you're sharing this, what you're telling Deep Wealth Nation, someone who has a fiduciary responsibility, they are legally obligated to do what's in the best interest of the client, not for themselves, but for the client. And if they do something that's in their best interest, it's illegal. There's legal consequences for doing that, and they're not good. You don't want to be there. So, Deep Wealth Nation, wow, talk about preparation. Talk about doing your diligence, doing your homework. It's a few words, but those few words can make all the difference. And so, Tim, as you're walking us through that, and thank you for sharing that, what should someone in Deep Wealth Nation, as they're hearing this, they're looking at their own advisors, maybe they're thinking of working with some new wealth advisors or on the financial side, what should they be avoiding? What should they be looking for?
Well, first of all, anybody with a CFP designation, Certified Financial Planner designation, has been obligated to act in the best of interests of the clients always for a long time. So, irrespective of whether they work in an investment advisory capacity, which is a fiduciary capacity by definition, or in a broker dealer capacity, or both, they've been obligated to do what's best for the client at all times. I think you should look for a person who has that designation because I think that it's emblematic of a level of knowledge and experience and ethics that I can't imagine clients would not want to know the person is espouses, first of all. Second of all, I've looked for language in a first conversation with a prospective advisor that tells you their philosophy, that says things like, I look to find what is in your best interest in whatever I do, as opposed to I use products and services that I know can work for most people, which might be suggesting that they have a limited product and service lineup behind them. If you work with a fee only advisor, or a someone who is not selling products. Technically speaking, I'm a fee and commission advisor because I have a broker dealer license. So I can't tell anybody I'm fee only. That said, I don't do any broker dealer products. I do asset management work. That's 99% of what I do. So you're looking for someone who is if they're fee and commission based, they should be espousing a philosophy of doing what's best for the client, having no preconceived notions of products on the shelf that they're looking to unload. They're not involved in sales contests trying to get to Hawaii by selling more of something or another, which are really not even allowed anymore for just these reasons. I think I always said that there are three C's to working with a financial advisor, and they are cost, competency, and chemistry. So, is the cost reasonable? Is the person in the ballpark for costs to work with them that most other financial advisors are? Does the person appear to be competent or has a team of people that support the person that can ensure that they technically give good financial advice? And then chemistry. Do you feel good with this person? Do you feel like you would enjoy getting to know the person, telling the person private things about yourself or your family? Are you comfortable with that relationship? And part of that comfort should be that the person has said maybe two or three times early on, I work in the best interest of my clients. If I need a product, I find them the best one that I can.
Hmm.
I generally, in my practice, I generally don't do products in a commission capacity, but if they do, that they espouse that philosophy and with conviction, I would say. Because there are certain things where the products in the fee-based world, the investment advisory world, just can't, if you need disability insurance, typically that's just not something that a fee-based advisor is going to help you place,
Huh.
help you go find that product. Whereas lots of entrepreneurs don't have a group disability insurance plan and they should have disability insurance for themselves. So I don't find commission based business to be a bad thing, as many of my colleagues who are fee only do. But there are more conflicts of interest caused by it. And on the other hand, like disability insurance and certain other things, it's nice when somebody else can go figure all that out for you and bring it to you
Hmm.
because it's a specialized field and you might not know what the heck you're even looking for if you went to try to Google disability insurance and figure out how you can buy it on your own, let's say. But just to get back to your question, I think espousing that ethic, in essence, that they have an independent nature, an independent background. They're not funded by a product company of some kind, and that they look to find what is in the best interest of the client that's available in a marketplace. That's what I'd be looking for.
And so, Default Nation, there is a lot there, but the takeaway designations matter. Who you're working with matters. You can't leave this up to chance. And the time, the investment that you do, and Tim, you can say, Jeffrey, on base, off base, when you put the diligence in, when you find the right advisor for you, when you have that trust but verify mentality, it can be, okay, we're going to go in this direction. I can now go back to focusing what I do best. Yes, of course, I'm going to be delegating, not abdicating. So I'm going to be checking in from time to time on a regular basis, make sure we're on the right track. But they're going to stay in their lane. I'm going to stay in my lane, and we're getting the best optimal outcomes. And Tim, why I'm sharing this for Default Nation, one of the things that we share with them, it's not just their company that should be their only focus. Why always work hard? You can work smart. Yes, your company has tremendous value, and down the road, if you have a liquidity event, terrific. You have some wonderful things ahead, especially nudge, nudge, wink, wink when you go through the Default Mastery Program. But at the same time, behind the scenes, why not have your money working for you when you have the right advisor? You're doing the right kinds of investments. It's passive investments. In other words, it's not taking up your time, your effort. When you have the right advisor in the right investments, that's where the magic can happen. Warren Buffett, eighth wonder of the world, compound interest. You have all that going on behind the scenes, that there's different ways of getting to wealth. Why not choose a few different roads that will get you there faster? Thoughts about that?
I mean, every advisor ultimately has or develops their own philosophy of how to work with clients and what seems to work for them in advising clients from an investment perspective. But that said, there are certain things that have to be there at a minimum. Most credentialed financial advisors are not going to be stock pickers where they're going to choose three or four stocks for you. There's going to be much more diversification than re Nvidia, Tesla, and Facebook or something like that. And I would actually venture to say that most financial advisors today delegate the stock picking within ETFs or mutual funds or third party managers because stock picking is such a challenging thing to do better than the market. It's just a
Sure.
terribly rare thing that someone can actually outperform market indices over time consistently. So they're typically delegating that. They're typically doing what we would call asset allocation, which is to say how much money, what percentages of your money should be in what sort of market areas in general, large company stocks or small company stocks. So it's just an oversimplification of it. So that sort of broad strategic role is more of what today's financial advisors are involved in. And they use third parties to either get index funds or get ETFs, mutual funds, third party advisors, third party managers that will pick the actual underlying securities. Getting comfortable, understanding the approach that someone takes and having it be comfortable. Sometimes it's unorthodox. It may seem unorthodox. I do some things that are unorthodox, but I consider them more advanced than most other things I could do for people. But understanding what it is, how it works, and gaining some comfort with it. And another thing is that I think a very good financial advisor has the ability to take complex financial concepts and make them simple so that you can understand it or understand it well enough to judge it, to make a judgment call about it. So that's a critical skill. Strong financial advisors have a breadth of skills. And when you meet somebody who can't communicate, or can't educate, can't explain clearly, but they seem like such a nice person, that's great, but that may not really be to your long-term benefit if they're not able to explain to you how what they're doing benefits you in a way that you can understand.
I know some terrific insights there, Tim, and Deep Wealth Nation. So many takeaways there. And you're hearing from someone, entrepreneur like all of us here at Deep Wealth Nation, who's been on different chairs, different sides of the table, and sharing some strategies from the trenches that work. And speaking of which, Tim, we're at the point now, we're going to go into wrap up mode. It's a tradition here on the Deep Wealth Podcast. It's my privilege, my honor, where every guest, I ask the same question. It's a fun question. I'm going to set this up for you. When you think of the movie Back to the Future, you have that magical DeLorean car that can take you to any point in time. So, Tim, I want you to imagine now it's tomorrow morning. You're looking outside your window. Not only is the DeLorean car curbside, the door is open, it's waiting for you to hop on in, which you do. You're now going to go to any point in time. Tim, as a young child, a teenager, whatever point in time it would be, what would you tell your younger self in terms of life lessons, life wisdom? Hey, Tim, do this, but don't do that. What would it sound like?
Oh, God, that's an amazing question. This is going to be a very unfulfilling answer for the audience, but I can tell you, I am at the most beautiful place in life right now, where I'm at with the level of knowledge and experience that I have and contacts and friendships and the amount of love in my life in the world. It's very hard for me to think of any other time in my life or some point in the future even that I'd rather be in or would like to go visit or revisit, or everything leads us to where we are and makes us who we are. And I'm really blessed to just be enjoying today. As a friend of mine says, enjoy the now, which is very strange for a financial planner because we're always looking at the future for people by profession. It's counterintuitive, I think, but I am literally just enjoying today and making every day of my life count. And maybe that's the lesson is don't worry so much about tomorrow. God willing, you get to tomorrow. Enjoy today more, embrace it and learn from it. And because tomorrow will come soon enough and you'll be that much further along in every way in life. But enjoy the now, enjoy today because it's beautiful. And we're all far more blessed and gifted than we realize. And we should celebrate that and just have gratitude every day and enjoy it.
Terrific advice for you, Deep Wealth Nation. Enjoy the now, enjoy today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Be grateful for what we have. Be grateful that you'll have a tomorrow. And it's something that, Tim, as you're sharing that, we all need to be reminded of more. It just seems today that time is not our own, and we have all these pressures and people, technology, all looking to grab our time and attention. You're bringing us back to basics, back to the joy in life where it always should be, and it should remain. Really appreciate that. And before we wrap up, one more question for you, Tim. Someone in Deep Wealth Nation, they have a question for you. They want to speak to you and the team, learn what's going on, or go down certain paths, what you're doing at Aurora Private Wealth. Where would be the best place online where someone in Deep Wealth Nation could reach out to you?
Sure. Well, first of all, I am on LinkedIn, Tim Smith of Aurora Private Wealth. Actually, I think it's Timothy L. Smith, CFP at Aurora Private Wealth. So you can find me there. I have two websites. One is aurorapw.com. That's for the general company. And then I have www.structuredportfolios.com, which is some of the unique investment work that I do. And they can find me there. And you can email me at either of those domains, tim@structuredportfolios.com or tim@aurorapw.com.
Deep Wealth Nation, it doesn't get any easier. This is all in the show notes. It's a point and click. And take Tim up on his offer. Reach out to him, email. He just shared his email address with you. Ask those questions. You'll come out of that conversation more knowledgeable and better than what you came in with. And that said, Tim, congratulations. This is official. It's a wrap. As we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I wish you the same. Thanks very much, Jeffrey.
So there you have it, Deep Wealth Nation. What did you think? So with all that said, and as we wrap it up, I have another question for you. Actually, it's more of a personal favor. Did you find this episode helpful? Have you found other episodes of the Deep Wealth Podcast empowering and a game changer for your journey? And if you said yes, and I really hope you did, I have a small but really meaningful way that you can actually help us out and keep these episodes coming to you. Are you ready for it? The dramatic pause. I'll just wait a moment. Drum roll, please. Subscribe. Please subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast on your favorite podcast channel. When you subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast, you're saving yourself time. Every episode automatically comes to you. And I want you to know that we meticulously craft every one of our episodes to have impactful strategies, stories, expert insights that are designed to help you grow your profits, increase the value of your business, and yes, even optimize your post-exit life and your life right now, whatever you want that to look like. And every time you subscribe and a fellow entrepreneur subscribe, it's a testament to how together, yes, we are changing the social fabric of society. One business owner at a time, one liquidity event at a time. So don't let the momentum stop here. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast channel. You'll never miss an episode. You'll be the first to hear from the top industry leaders, the innovators, the disruptors that are really changing and shaping the business world. And maybe you're commuting, maybe you're at the gym, maybe you're taking a well-deserved break that we spoke all about on this episode. The Deep Wealth Podcast, it's your reliable source for the next big idea that could literally revolutionize your business. So once again, please hit that subscribe button, stay connected, inspired, and ahead of the curve. And again, your next big breakthrough moment, it might just be one episode away. Maybe it was even this episode. So all that said, thank you so much for listening. And remember, your wealth isn't just about the money in the bank. It's about the depth of your journey and the impact that you're creating. So let's continue this journey together. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And as we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much. God bless.